So skill 3 was the special values and circular function skill. Essentially, we were given 3 reference angles and we derived an angle from these reference angles and we got to choose our own quadrantal angle, and I chose pi. So for part A, we had to find the sine and the cosine of one of our angles. So I chose the angle 5 pi over 6, which is approximately 150 degrees. So for this method, I drew a vertical line from the point corresponding on the unit circle downwards until it intersected with the x-axis. Therefore, this point has an x-coordinate and the y-coordinate. So the x-coordinate represents this length over here, which is the long side, and the y-coordinate represents the short side, which is the height of the triangle. And the hypotenuse is always 1 due to the radius. So as you can see, the sides here are 1, 1/2, and negative root 3 over 2. Now, since this angle is based on the reference angle of 30 degrees, we know that this angle over here is 30 degrees. That's the angle that this line makes with the x-axis, since this angle is 150 degrees, and therefore this angle is 30 degrees. So now you know that this triangle is a special right triangle of 30, 60, 90 degrees. So to calculate sine of this angle, you would do opposite over hypotenuse, and cosine would be adjacent over hypotenuse. Interestingly, the sine value is the value of the y-coordinate, while the cosine value is the value for the x-coordinate. Now, for part B, again, we chose a different angle, and we did the same method, drawing a vertical line upwards. The length is corresponding to the x and y coordinate, and then simply solving this using special right triangles. So for part B, I created a 45, 45, 90 triangle. For part C, it was another 30, 60, 90 triangle. However, part D was slightly different because I was able to find the secant of pi, which is just 1 over cosine, and the cosine of pi is -1. And this is just the proof of why that is. However, when I tried to find the cotangent, I got an undefined value because you can't divide by 0. Now, the reason behind why cotangent of pi is undefined is because any increment or equivalent of pi is an asymptote on the illustration of like the cotangent graph. So this is like a visual representation of how a cotangent graph looks. So the pi is the asymptote, and therefore as the graph approaches this asymptote, it also approaches negative infinity and positive infinity. Therefore, the limit does not exist. That's why it's undefined.